Welcome back to Aw Ship, a team building focused podcast. This is my 9th podcast since launching back in January. I'm here to talk through and work through a very special and important subject for all companies, all businesses, large and small. Building a better team with the customer in mind. This is missing from everyday life. There are companies large and small that have forgotten who are paying their salaries, who are paying their bills that company works for. You see this every day, trust me. Thank you everybody that has returned and has given me feedback. Keep it up. Welcome, new watchers and listeners. Definitely, if you're new, give me feedback. I want to make this better, more enjoyable, more usable for you, the listener or watcher. RA Enterprises is here to help everybody. Anybody can learn. Anybody can help. Over the years, as the Director of Operations at Premier Logistics Partners, I've learned and seen how a team can impact others. RA Enterprises is how I'm giving back. It's how I'm serving others, how I'm helping others, and at the same time, how it's going to make me a better person, a better father, a better husband, and a better leader to my operations team at PLP. So I want to jump into it and rip from headlines this week. Well, this is a bad rip, but the bridge that collapsed in Baltimore, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, is definitely sad that we had some loss of life with that. It does affect the transportation side of things, and I really don't want to really talk about that. But what I do want to talk about is the fact that our infrastructure in the U.S. is aging. And we have to look at some of these projects, some of these bridges, some of these different highways and byways and parkways that are out there that we probably should be looking at and upgrading so that we can make ourselves more efficient, run leaner, and it makes our transportation in this country a lot smoother and cheaper. But specifically about that bridge, again, it's the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It opened actually March 23rd of 1977, and it is named after the poet Francis Scott Key. Now, if you're an American buff, a history buff of American history, you know that Francis Scott Key is our father of our national anthem. And I got flags all over my office. I fly 2 on my truck on flag days and on special events. So he's a very influential person in our history. It operated for 47 years until its collapse earlier this week. Now, that is a toll bridge. That toll is $4 one way. Estimated 11.5 million cars or trucks use that bridge annually, which generates $46 million of revenue for the state of Maryland for them to use on other projects in their transportation side. Now, the other part about this and a little bit of the transportation side is that's a hazmat route for Baltimore. You can't go through the 2 tunnels that are there as well. So it is definitely a vital part of that city. So I wish the best for the families. My hearts and prayers go out to them as they go through this time. And let's just hope that they can get that bridge back up and running, or at least some type of route to help people move to and from the Northeast, because it is a definite key part of that infrastructure. This week, I want to talk about communication. It's vital that we have communication between yourself and others, your spouse, your children, your friends, your coworkers, your bosses, your top down, right? Your team members. But what is more important about communication is when things go wrong. So rewind time just a second. Go back to the bridge incident and collapse. Well, that cargo ship lost power, and they were able to radio out. They were able to communicate that something was wrong, and then that communication was received. It was found to be feasible, and we're like, what are we going to do? Well, what did they do? They went and they stopped some of the traffic. It's unfortunate they didn't get everybody off the bridge, but it could have been a lot worse. It really could have. Communication is the foundation of every single team. It is the foundation of how you interact with your customer. This podcast is about what? It's about building a better team with the customer in mind. So you can't build a team without communicating. You can't shift work around or projects around without communicating. And you're doing all those for a customer that's going to use your service, that's going to buy something from you or order something from you. You as a company have to communicate within your team. Now, let's look at a couple definitions here. And I haven't done this in a while, but communication is defined as the imparting or exchanging of information or news. And there's also means of sending and receiving information. So we're lucky it is 2024 because over time, this has gotten easier, quicker, and more digestible. But you got to think, written letters, telegrams, carrier pigeons. If you watched Robin Hood Men in Tights, foxes. But phones, email, satellite transmissions, text messages on your phones or your tablets. So the evolution of communication has made it easier and quicker for us to do. Now, I got a couple things I wanted to pull from for this week. One of them comes from a book that I love. It's called Customer Satisfaction is Worthless. Customer Loyalty is Priceless. It's a Jeffrey Gitomer book. It's a really good book. I've read it. I can't tell you how many times. But I do want to read just a couple things in here. This actually comes from a chapter that he's talking about customers and angry customers. But I just want to read a couple of these here. Because again, communication is key. Tell them you understand how you feel. Understanding and listening, using your ears or reading the words of their emails is important. Again, I just talked about listening. Ask questions and understand their problem better and find out what it will take to help them. So a couple podcasts ago, I talked about sales, right? And customer management and account management. You need to understand what your customer needs. Ask the questions, because if you don't ask the question, you don't know what they need. You can't help them. That's part of communication. Agree with them if at all possible. Take notes. Confirm back everything that has been covered. If you're taking notes in a meeting or on a phone call and you're reading back, the caller on the other side's like, oh, they listened to me. Think about what I said about Clark Howard. I believe it was in my first podcast about customer no service, because they're not listening, right? You got to listen. It's very, very important. Be an ambassador for your company. Tell the customers that you will personally handle it. Don't blame others or look for a scapegoat. Again, there's actually 14 of these in this book in that part of the chapter. But again, wanted to pull from that real quick. A couple of keys there, right? We went through it. Your customer is your number one priority. I don't care about Johnny Sue that works in the cubicle next to me. If she's on a personal call or text because she's having a hard time, it's okay. Focus on your customer. Tunnel vision for your customer. Care about what's wrong with her. But if you're on a call, that email, that project, that task is key to your customer. Get it done. Help your employee out. Help your coworker out. At the end of the day, you will be better on the inside. Your heart will feel better. Okay, there's just so much I can go into on that. One of the other things I wanted to pull from is a book that I'm going through, and I just want to highlight a couple of these things. So it's called Constructive Communication Practices, right? So within this, you're trying to learn how to listen, how to be a speaker, and then from both sides. But it's sort of key, right? So for the speaker, right? So I'm speaking to you guys. I'm communicating to you guys out there in podcast world. Speak only for yourself. Share your own feelings along with your perception of the facts. Try to be concise. Using short phrases helps. Stop often to let the listener paraphrase. So, as the speaker, This is a podcast, so there's no interaction. Now, I'm going to hopefully have a guest on in a few weeks, trying to work on timing on that and some subject matter, but there'll be dialogue back and forth. So if you are speaking in a conversation, you're speaking, then you're listening. Then you're speaking, then you're listening. That is a normal interaction of communication. If you're doing all the speaking in a conversation with a customer, you don't know what the customer needs. Does he need a widget or a sprocket? Sorry. Spacely sprockets or Cogswell cogs. Now, there are some of you out there that have no idea what I'm talking about, and I'm just not even going down there, but it's called the Jetsons. Oh my gosh. We should have flying cars right now, y'all. But again, you don't know what they're trying to order. You don't know if there's something wrong with the product. You don't know, in my world, there's something wrong with the shipment. You don't know if it's missing or it's damaged. You don't know. You got to listen. Okay? Let them speak. Then regurgitate it to them. Paraphrase it back to them. And if you got it wrong, you as the other side of it, as the customer, or in a project, if you're in a group setting and you're in a boardroom or a conference room and you're just talking, if you get it wrong and they say you got it wrong, accept that. Don't get an attitude. Don't have that little eyebrow go up or be like, stuff like that. That'll get you nowhere, because body language is an extremely important part of communication as well. For the listener, so this is from the listener side. Listen with the goal of understanding. Don't interrupt, interject, debate, or withdraw. Okay? Try to focus on what the speaker is saying without being defensive. Try not to formulate a response as he or she talks. So I have that problem personally, right? I have to listen, specifically in my marriage, to what my wife is telling me. I'm a guy that's always trying to fix it. She's trying to tell me a problem. I'm trying to fix it somehow. And confirm that the understanding by paraphrasing what you have heard. What I hear you say is, repeat the other person's thoughts and recognize with empathy if you need to. If there's something wrong, if it's a negative event, have that empathy, okay? So then we can go on and we can talk about, just general communication. The way you communicate with others influence the quality of that communication or that interaction. Good communication practices aren't simply set of the techniques to enrich yourself, but they are an effort to honor, and this is religious, but to honor God. Listening and understanding one another and responding peacefully by articulating what is going on, and the feelings demonstrates dialogue or dignity and value. It honors God and the person you're speaking with as his creation. So, vitally important that you just speak. You listen, you communicate. Now, let's talk about that in your teams, right? So, if you are a manager and you have a group of people that work underneath you, they're going to have ideas from time to time. They're going to have problems from time to time. Have an open door policy where they can come in and talk to you in your office. Have a environment, a culture that openness and communication is key and vital. I can't say that enough. I'm very lucky in my team for the guys that are on my team and have been on my team over the years that I've been at PLP. It's been a very great experience. We interact at the office, interact outside the office. And I'm going to say this word. The more intimate your relationship is with your coworkers, the better off your customer is. Being friends with your coworkers is important. Now, that's my opinion. That is personally my opinion. There's a lot of gurus out there. There are people psychologists that say that, no, you're just a worker. Just do your job and go home. No, don't do that. Because that makes it about yourself. And when you make your job about yourself, nobody wins. I guarantee you nobody wins. You have to be a team player. The only way you're going to be a team player is if you interact with your coworkers on either side of you, behind you, or in front of you. I'm not saying you have to, if you're single and you're in your 20s, that you go out for drinks every night. I am not saying that. What I am saying is when you guys come to work in those four walls, in your team areas, in your pods, in your bullpens, in your assembly line, in your warehouse, in your call center, that everybody around you is treated with the same level of dignity and you're communicating positively. If somebody does something wrong, don't go to, you did this wrong. No. It's a teaching moment. I can't really articulate and tell you how to handle that because every situation's a little different. But don't come down on your employees. That's the worst thing you can do. Most of the time when an employee makes a mistake and it comes out somehow, or they recognize it on themselves and then bring it to your attention, they're going to feel worse about it inside. They don't need you. And yes, I'm going directly at you. You don't need to come down on them. They're doing the job for themselves. Nobody likes making mistakes, but we all do them. Make mistakes every day. But it's how you react to that. It's how in that moment that you make a mistake, you realize you make a mistake, and then you fix it the next time around. You don't need 16 people telling you how to do it wrong. It's a great movie. And I'm going to play a clip from it. It's called Office Space. It's really great. But TPS reports. Who loves them? Who hates them? Watch this clip.
We have sort of a problem here. Yeah, you apparently didn't put one of the new cover sheets on your TPS reports.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that. I forgot.
At a reasonable volume.
Thanks.
From 9 to 11.
Milton.
Hi, Peter. What's happening? We need to talk about your TPS reports.
Yeah, the cover sheet, I know. Bill talked to me about it.
Yeah. Did you get that memo?
Yeah, I got the memo, and I understand the policy, and the problem is just that I forgot the one time, and I've already taken care of it, so it's not even really a problem anymore.
Ah, yeah. It's just we're putting new cover sheets on all the TPS reports before they go out now, so if you could go ahead and try to remember to do that from now on, that'd be great.
Oh my gosh, guys, that is such a great movie. I just can't tell you just how wonderful that movie is. I can't tell you how many times I've watched it. Probably 1,000 times. Okay, maybe not that many, because I'd still be sitting on the couch looking like a potato with popcorn all around me. But the point here is he has several different people that come around and tell him what's wrong with his TPS reports. He doesn't need to know that. He just needs the one communication. Okay? It's vitally important that you communicate within your team. There's stickiness within that team. That's the intimacy. It's not, I'm married. I am married. I'm married. I can't interact with John, who's single, because how am I going to? No, you can't. You can have married people, single people, retired, old people, young people, middle-aged people, men, women, black, Hindu, American, Spanish, Mexican. You can have lack of a better term, you can have a very diverse team that intimately is involved in a communication and in team building. So at the end of the day, everything is great. I want you to continue to think about that as you go through your week. Think about how in this next week that we communicate. Also think of this, Sunday, tomorrow, because I'm recording this on a Saturday, is Easter. It's a very important time to Christians. Jesus was crucified on Good Friday, which was yesterday. Third day, he rose from the dead. That story has been communicated decade after decade after decade after There's many different versions of the Bible. It just depends on which version you read. I read my personal Bible is an NIT Bible. Think about what is being said, what is being communicated. It is so interesting to read and learn history because it's communication. But with Easter specifically, it's very interesting how people communicate this time of year. When you go to work on Monday, it's a new day. It's spring outside. My blinds are sort of shut because if not, I look like this black blob sitting here. So you guys can't see outside, but it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. This time of year can just turn things completely around. Go to work tomorrow, or I'm sorry, on Monday, or Tuesday, or Wednesday, or Thursday, or Friday, or if you're listening to this and it's in July because you just found my podcast and you started listening to the episodes in order. Whatever your next day is at work, go to work and think about how you can talk to and interact with your coworkers and understand them a little bit more to a point where no matter what happens, y'all are just like moving straight together. Every day is down the same path with the same expectation, with the same result, with the same service to that customer. That customer is vital to everything you have. It will never change. I guarantee you it's never gonna change. That customer wants your product or your service. They are calling you on the phone. They are sending you an email or a text, depending on your means of communicating with your customers. They're coming to you for help. Regardless if it's a product. They're buying a product from you. There's a reason why they're buying a product from you. Your product helps them do something. They need help with something. Definitely think about that. I encourage you. I challenge you in that. I think communication gets overlooked a lot in every organization, big or small. The way your teams interact, the way your teams communicate has to do with the overall health of your business, the overall health of your organization, and the health of your customer's experience. And I will leave you with that. The health equals customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, and customers that love you will have a team that loves them back. So here we are, shout out corner. I talked about how much of a beautiful day it is. So I have to shout out to the workers at Lowe's and Home Depot. Now, I'm down here in the South. We do not have Menards, but I know they're a chain very similar. But everybody is demanding as soon as spring kicks in. The sales are going on. The mulch is on sale. The pine straw, the flowers. The nursery department is freaking backed up. If you've ever gotten mulch or pine straw from Home Depot, they're going to load it in your vehicle. They make you pull through this little corral area, and they load you. And usually you're at least 5 deep, and you got to wait till you get up there. The workers at Home Depots and Lowe's, definitely hats off. I don't have a hat on today, but hats off to you. Home Depot has roughly 2,322 stores. Lowe's has approximately 1,970 stores. So when you're out, Ace Hardware's out there, which is also True Value. You have some other little mom and pop nurseries that are out there. But this time of year, be courteous to those workers. They're working hard for you to go home and work hard in your yard. Quote of the week corner. Well, it's Easter, so I wanted to sort of put an Easter theme on this. Easter is very important to me. It's a second chance. Reba McEntire is 100% right. Jesus died on the cross for all of us. He died on the cross to forgive us of our sins. It's a second chance for us to be rebirthed and have a second chance of life. It's not life here on earth. It's eternal life. So think about that as you go through your week as well. Hope everybody has a great week. If you want to reach out to me, you can. My email address is above, but it's eric-raenterprises@outlook.com. Drop me a line. If you have a suggestion of some topics, definitely let me know. Do that or drop me a comment here at YouTube or on LinkedIn. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to me here on LinkedIn or YouTube. God bless you and have a wonderful week.